Have you ever felt like you're slowly drifting into isolation without even realizing it? As we get older, the little habits we develop can unintentionally push us further away from the people we care about. It's not just about the obvious signs of aging, like wrinkles or declining health. Sometimes, it's the subtle actions we don't notice that can start to alienate us from others. But here's the good news. By becoming aware of these habits, you can change them and rebuild those meaningful connections. In this video, we'll uncover 12 common habits that many seniors unknowingly fall into, leading to loneliness and frustration. From negative thinking to pushing away help, and even forgetting to laugh, these habits are more common than you might think, and they can have a huge impact on your relationships and emotional well-being. By the end of this video, you'll not only be able to identify these habits in your own life, but you'll also learn simple, actionable tips to turn things around. We'll explore how to reframe negative thoughts, improve personal care, embrace technology, and even reconnect with your loved ones in ways you may never have considered. Plus, habit number 7 is one that often catches people off guard. It's a game changer, and most people only realize it too late. So stay with us until the end, because making even one small change today can lead to a more fulfilling and connected life tomorrow. Let's dive in and take those first steps toward a happier, more vibrant you. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. 1. Becoming negative and critical. Julie never imagined herself as a negative person. She always saw herself as someone who was simply speaking the truth, offering an honest perspective on life. However, as the years passed, something subtle but profound began to shift in her conversations. Her once vibrant and engaging interactions had slowly turned into an endless stream of complaints. It started innocently enough, with a mention of the stiffness in her knees when she woke up, but then it spiraled into larger issues. The troubling news that seemed to paint the world as a darker place each day, and a longing for the days when things felt easier, simpler, and more carefree. "Back in my day, we had it better," she would say often, and with each complaint, she unknowingly distanced herself from the warmth of the people around her. The consequences were hard to ignore. Julie's friends, once eager to spend time with her, began to keep their distance. Conversations that once flowed freely were now reduced to uncomfortable exchanges that were brief and, at times, obligatory. Even her grandchildren, who once adored her, started making excuses to avoid her calls, fearing yet another round of complaints that weighed them down. It was as if Julie's negativity had begun to overshadow the very essence of who she was. Her kindness, her wisdom, and the love she had once so freely given. Why is negativity so toxic? It drains the very life out of relationships. No one wants to walk away from a conversation feeling worse than when they arrived, especially when they leave carrying the emotional weight of someone else's frustration or pessimism. The danger lies in how easily negativity can overshadow all the good qualities we possess. People forget the light we once radiated, the compassion we offered, and the joy we brought into their lives, because the heavy cloud of negativity has obscured it. It's easy to fall into this trap, but so incredibly hard to escape once you've let it seep into your daily interactions. So, how can we break free from the grip of negativity? It begins with one simple change. Start each conversation with a positive note. Instead of launching into a complaint about the pain in your body, try sharing something uplifting. "I had such a great night's sleep last night," or "I watched the most beautiful movie today." These small, intentional shifts set the tone for healthier, more positive conversations. If you find the need to vent, allow yourself a few minutes to express frustration, but then pivot to something more joyful or interesting. Practice replacing criticism with curiosity. Ask questions instead of casting judgment. Instead of lamenting, "Things were so much better before," try saying, "That's interesting." Tell me more about how things work today." For Julie, this simple change had an extraordinary impact. The energy in her relationships shifted dramatically. Her friends stayed longer, their laughter echoing in her home once again. Even her grandchildren began calling her more often, eager to share their lives with her, no longer fearing another round of complaints. Julie realized that the warmth she thought she had lost was never truly gone. It had just been buried under the weight of negativity. And by choosing to shine a light on the good, she reignited the bonds that meant the most to her. 2. Neglecting appearance and personal hygiene. Julie had always taken pride in her appearance. In her younger years, she reveled in choosing bright-colored blouses, adding a touch of perfume, and making sure her hair was neatly styled every day. It was more than just vanity. It was a reflection of how she felt about herself. But over time, as the years slipped by, Julie started to question the importance of her appearance. "I'm old now. Who do I need to dress up for?" she thought. Slowly, she stopped caring. Her hair appointments were missed, she chose loose, unflattering clothes, and eventually, she stopped wearing makeup altogether. Her once careful grooming was replaced by a sense of resignation. And with that, something profound shifted within her. The changes didn't go unnoticed. Not only did others begin to see her differently, but Julie also started to feel less like herself. The woman who once stood with confidence now found herself shrinking, feeling invisible in a world that increasingly seemed to care less about her. She stopped going out, retreating further into her own space, and with each passing day, the walls between her and others grew taller. It wasn't just about looking good. It was about feeling valued and worthy. By letting go of her care, Julie had unknowingly allowed her sense of self-respect to slip away. Why is taking care of ourselves so important? It's about self-respect. When you look after yourself, you send a message to the world, and more importantly to yourself, that you are still worthy, still important, and still capable of taking care of what matters. Dressing well, even if it's just for a trip to the grocery store, can lift your spirits, brighten your outlook, and reignite that spark of joy in your heart. When you feel good about yourself, it radiates outward, attracting positivity and encouraging deeper connections with others. The solution doesn't have to be grand. It's about the little things. Make it a point to dress every day, even if you're staying at home. A neat outfit can work wonders on your confidence. Follow a personal care routine that includes showering, brushing your hair, and taking time to pamper yourself. These small, consistent habits are a daily declaration of self-respect. And when you add a little pop of color, a vibrant blouse, a stylish scarf, or a cute accessory, you'll notice an immediate lift in your mood. For Julie, the transformation was instant. By simply switching out her pajamas for her favorite dress, she felt the change within herself. When she glanced in the mirror, she saw a woman who had something to offer the world again, a woman worthy of love, admiration, and joy. And just as she began to radiate confidence once more, others responded. Smiles, compliments, and genuine interest from friends and family flooded back into her life. 3. Being stubborn and sticking to old ways. Julie had always been a creature of habit. She valued the simple things in life, things that had always worked for her. She cherished the sound of a phone call, the tangible connection it provided. So when her children and grandchildren switched to texting and chatting through apps, Julie felt no need to join them. If they want to talk to me, they can pick up the phone, she thought stubbornly. Little did she know, this refusal to embrace change was quietly pushing her further away from her loved ones. As everyone around her adapted to new ways of communicating, Julie remained isolated in her old ways, unknowingly drifting from the heart of family life. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Why does stubbornness lead to loneliness? It creates barriers, communication barriers that leave you out of sync with those you love. As technology advances and others find new ways to connect, holding on to old methods can leave you behind. And in a world that moves fast, that separation grows wider, leaving you feeling increasingly distant and disconnected. Embracing change, especially in the form of learning something new, can open doors to deeper connections and shared experiences. It's not about becoming an expert. It's about being present and engaged in the lives of those you care about. The key to turning things around? Approach change with curiosity and an open heart. Instead of saying, "I don't need that," try saying, "I'll give it a shot." Let your family help you learn. Let your grandchildren teach you how to text, share photos, and use video calls. In return, share the wisdom of your experiences, the stories of your life that they may never have heard. Small steps can lead to big changes in how we connect. When Julie finally agreed to try texting, it was like a whole new world opened up to her. She marveled at the adorable photos of her great-grandchildren, the sweet messages that made her heart swell with love, and the funny family moments that filled her with joy. Each text was a bridge back to the people she cared for most, and in that simple act of embracing change, Julie rediscovered the deep, unbreakable bonds of family. 4. Hoarding and struggling to let go. Julie had always been deeply sentimental, a trait that tugged at her heartstrings in ways she didn't fully understand. Each item in her home, whether it was an old newspaper, a worn-out sweater, or a trinket that had been sitting untouched for decades, seemed to carry a piece of her past that she wasn't ready to part with. There were memories in those items, memories that she feared would disappear if she let them go. It wasn't just about the object itself. It was about the feelings attached to them, the moments in time they represented, and the sense of continuity they gave her in a world that was constantly changing. But as the years slipped by, her home, once a haven, became a burden. It wasn't just clutter, it was overwhelming, suffocating. The piles of forgotten things once cherished started to crowd her space, making it harder to clean, harder to breathe, and most painfully, harder to feel comfortable welcoming others in. The idea of having guests over seemed impossible, as she had created a space that was as physically cramped as it was emotionally stifling. It was no longer a place of refuge. It was a maze of her own making. The question that lingered in Julie's mind was, why was it so hard to let go? Hoarding can be far more than just a habit. It's an invisible mental burden that weighs on the soul. A cluttered space can mirror a cluttered mind, and for Julie, that was becoming painfully clear. As much as she tried to ignore it, the chaos around her mirrored the internal turmoil she had been carrying for years. It wasn't just the physical clutter, it was the emotional clutter too. Every object seemed to hold onto a piece of her past that she couldn't bear to lose. Yet, as she sat amidst the disarray, Julie realized that this very hoarding was causing her unnecessary stress, creating anxiety, and limiting her ability to move forward. And then, there were the safety risks. Piles of belongings that might seem harmless but were, in fact, a dangerous obstacle in her day-to-day life. She was only one misplaced step away from a fall. In an emergency, the clutter could become an insurmountable barrier between her and safety. It was an issue that no amount of sentimental attachment could ignore. When Julie finally decided to take control and declutter, she started small. A drawer, a shelf, a corner. She tackled each space with a quiet resolve, realizing that, just like the item she clung to, she too had to let go of the past, of fear, and of the idea that things defined her. She adopted the use it or lose it rule, which, though simple, became a powerful tool for emotional release. If an item no longer served a purpose or sparked a genuine memory, it was time to part ways. And as she let go, she discovered a sense of lightness, both physically and emotionally. For the first time in years, Julie felt a sense of freedom, a sense of clarity. She was no longer weighed down by things, and for the first time in ages, her home felt welcoming again. She could breathe, she could think, and she could finally invite friends over without the fear of judgment. It was more than just a clean space, it was a newfound sense of peace and renewal. 5. Quickly losing patience with others. It was one of those days when everything seemed to go wrong. Julie stood in line at the supermarket, her patience thin and her frustration growing. The young cashier, clearly nervous, was fumbling with a scanner. The beep seemed to take forever, and Julie felt her irritation build with every passing second. "Why is this taking so long?" she thought, barely able to suppress her impatience. But then, as she looked closer, she noticed something that stopped her in her tracks. The young man's hands were shaking. His nervousness was palpable. He wasn't just slow, he was struggling. And in that moment, Julie felt a wave of guilt wash over her. Why does impatience harm us and those around us? It drains our energy, causing our stress levels to rise with each passing moment of frustration. But the real cost of impatience is often unseen. The more we react with irritation, the more we allow it to consume us, affecting our relationships, our interactions, and our inner peace. It creates a tense atmosphere, one that others pick up on, and before long, people begin to distance themselves. No one wants to be around someone whose default is frustration. And, as Julie realized, no one, including herself, benefits from a short fuse. So how could she change this? It wasn't easy, but Julie made a choice to pause before reacting. She took a deep breath and asked herself, "Is this worth getting upset over?" She started to shift her perspective. Instead of focusing on the delay, she began to see the cashier as a human being. Someone who, like everyone else, was doing their best. Maybe the slow driver ahead of her wasn't just being inconsiderate. Maybe they were elderly, driving cautiously, or a new driver still finding their way. Julie realized that a little patience could go a long way. Not just for the person on the receiving end, but for herself, too. When she returned to the store and saw the young cashier again, she smiled warmly and said, "You're doing great. Take your time." The relief on his face was immediate. Julie felt a sense of peace, realizing that kindness was the balm for her impatience. In that moment, her irritation faded, and a warm connection replaced it. She was reminded of something so simple yet so powerful. A small act of kindness can make a big difference, both for others and for your peace of mind. 6. Talking too much and not listening. Julie had always loved to talk. She was passionate, vibrant, and full of stories, always eager to share her experiences and life lessons. She believed that her wisdom, earned through years of living and learning, was something worth passing on. But over time, her conversations with her daughter began to feel one-sided. Julie would dominate the phone calls, sharing everything on her mind, without pausing long enough to listen to her daughter. What started as lively, engaging talks became shorter and less frequent, and Julie couldn't understand why. What had happened to their connection? Not listening, Julie realized, was pushing her daughter away. When you don't listen, it feels like you don't care. People want to feel heard, valued, and understood. They want to share their thoughts, their struggles, their victories, and when they're met with silence or a monologue, they begin to withdraw. A conversation is a dance, a back-and-forth exchange that allows both parties to feel engaged and present. It's not about having the last word or dominating the conversation. It's about connecting, truly connecting. Julie's wake-up call came when she realized how much she was missing out on by not being an active listener. She made a conscious decision to change. Instead of rushing in with her own stories, she began to ask her daughter, "What about you? Anything exciting happened lately?" She gave her space to speak, and in doing so, Julie found something beautiful happening. Their conversations became warmer, fuller, and more genuine. She stopped talking over her daughter, and instead, she started listening. For the first time in a long time, Julie felt like she was truly connecting with her daughter, not just talking at her, but with her. And in that shared space, both of their hearts grew closer. The lesson was clear. Listening wasn't just about being polite, it was about love, respect, and the bond they both cherished. 7. Rejecting all offers of help. Julie had always prided herself on her independence. It was a part of who she was, a woman who had weathered storms, faced challenges, and never asked for anyone's help. She was fiercely self-reliant, and the thought of burdening anyone with her struggles seemed unfathomable. So, when a kind young man at the store noticed the weight of her heavy bag and offered to carry it for her, her response was swift and firm: "I can manage." Her back ached, the weight pulling on her shoulders, but she refused to let herself seem vulnerable. When her children noticed the roof in disrepair and offered to help, she waved them off, brushing away their concern with, "No need, I can do it." Over time, her unspoken mantra of independence, "I don't need anyone's help," created an invisible barrier around her. People, those who cared for her deeply, stopped offering assistance. They respected her wishes, not realizing that by doing so, they were inadvertently pushing her further into isolation. Julie had unknowingly constructed a wall so high, so impenetrable, that even the ones who loved her the most couldn't reach her. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Why is it so important to accept help, even when you feel you don't need it? The answer is simple but profound. Accepting help is a bridge to connection. People don't offer help out of pity or judgment. They do it because they care deeply about you. It's not a sign of weakness, but a testament to the love and bonds that tie us together. By accepting help, you invite others into your life, allowing them to share in the experience of your journey. It lightens your burdens, reduces the chances of accidents, and in the case of aging, it keeps you safe. It's an acknowledgement that while independence is important, so too is the strength in togetherness. To begin to turn things around, Julie could start by simply pausing and allowing others in. The next time someone offers help, instead of hastily rejecting it, she could stop and say, "Thank you, I'd love some help." In that moment, she could see the offer as an opportunity for connection, a chance to bond, to let someone in. Each time she allowed someone to assist her, she would not only experience the relief of shared burdens, but she'd be giving others the gift of feeling valued, needed, and appreciated. Recognizing your limits doesn't diminish your independence. It enhances it. True strength lies in knowing when to stand firm, and when to lean on others. Eventually, when Julie started saying, "Thank you, would you mind helping me?" her life became lighter. The weight she had been carrying, alone, was no longer hers to bear entirely. There was warmth, there was love, and there was the kind of companionship that makes life worth living. Julie learned that independence doesn't mean doing everything by yourself. It means knowing when to let others in, and when to share in life's load. 8. Being overly frugal and not enjoying life. Julie had always been cautious when it came to money. The thought of spending freely made her uneasy, as if each dollar she spent chipped away at the security she had worked so hard to build. She worried about the future, about unexpected expenses, and the uncertainty that came with aging. As a result, she avoided indulging in things that could bring her joy. No spontaneous vacations, no dinners out with friends, no little luxuries to treat herself. Over time, her world shrank into a safe, predictable routine, but it lacked the vibrancy and excitement of truly living. Why is it so important to enjoy the rewards of your hard work? Life is fleeting. It's easy to fall into the trap of waiting for someday, but that day may never come. Money, after all, is simply a tool. It should serve your well-being and bring you fulfillment, not just sit stagnant in a savings account gathering dust. The true value of money lies in how it can help you live in the moment, to savor the experiences that make life rich and meaningful. To turn things around, Julie could start by creating a fun fund, a separate portion of her savings set aside specifically for activities that bring her joy. She could plan small getaways, treat herself to meals with friends, or even invest in a new hobby or class. These experiences wouldn't just enrich her life, they would create lasting memories, experiences that would linger long after the temporary satisfaction of a material possession had faded. The key is balance, ensuring that her financial security is still intact, but also allowing herself the freedom to enjoy the fruits of her labor. Julie learned this lesson slowly, but it was transformative. One day, she decided to take a short trip with a close friend. As they laughed together, exploring new places and soaking in fresh sights, Julie felt a wave of excitement she hadn't felt in years. Life wasn't just about saving for an uncertain future, it was about living fully in the present. In that moment, she realized that life didn't have to be perfect or predictable to be joyful. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of peace, knowing she had far fewer regrets. 9. Looking down on younger generations. Julie's relationship with her grandson had always been warm, but there was a growing disconnect between them. When he excitedly showed her the latest game on his smartphone, she barely glanced at the screen. "Kids these days are always glued to their screens," she muttered, not realizing how her words might sting. She dismissed his enthusiasm without understanding the excitement behind his new hobby. Her grandson, sensing her disapproval, quietly withdrew, feeling hurt and dismissed. It wasn't just about the game, it was about the growing gap between them, a gap that Julie was unaware of. Why does a dismissive attitude toward younger generations widen the gap? When we fail to understand or appreciate the interests and innovations of those younger than us, we inadvertently push them away. Every generation has its own values, challenges, and unique joys. Judging these differences instead of embracing them only serves to create distance. Young people may feel misunderstood, leading them to hesitate in sharing what excites them or their personal experiences. Julie's opportunity to turn things around lay in her willingness to open her heart and mind. Instead of shutting down her grandson's excitement, she could have asked, "What do you like about this game? What makes it so fun?" By adopting a "tell me more" attitude, she could have created space for him to share his world with her, and in doing so, she would have discovered a newfound connection. Julie began to make this shift. Instead of criticizing, she asked questions. She learned about the strategy, creativity, and teamwork behind the game, and in the process, her grandson's face lit up with joy. He felt seen and heard for the first time in a long while. As Julie took the time to listen, to truly listen, she found herself not just accepting, but cherishing the new world her grandson inhabited. No longer did she feel left behind. She felt connected, closer to him than ever before. It was in that simple moment of open-mindedness that Julie realized, embracing the present, and those who carry it forward, is one of the most beautiful ways to stay connected to life itself. 10. Holding on to grudges and past regrets. Julie carried the weight of old mistakes and fractured relationships like a heavy, unshakable burden. Every holiday season, as the days grew colder and the world around her filled with light and joy, her heart would tighten with a deep, soul-wrenching regret. The silence between her and her estranged sister felt like an open wound that she had tried to ignore but could never fully forget. The years of distance between them weighed on Julie, and though she longed for reconciliation with all of her heart, the longer she waited, the more impossible it seemed to reach out. The past felt like a chain around her heart, one she had no idea how to break free from. Why do we let grudges and regrets torment us so? I've wondered this myself, and it's clear that they rob us of the very thing that should be ours, the present moment. When we cling to past hurts, we trap ourselves in a web of negativity, preventing us from embracing the joy, peace, and opportunities that life presents to us right now. It's painful to think of how much energy we waste on things that are long gone. Holding on to grudges not only steals our happiness, but it also takes a toll on our health. The bitterness, the anger, the sadness, it all manifests in physical ways. Stress, sleepless nights, even high blood pressure can be traced back to emotions that we refuse to let go of. Why keep carrying such a heavy load? So, how do we find freedom from it? The answer isn't simple, but the first step is to accept the past. We must look at it for what it was, something we cannot change. Once we accept that, we can begin to heal. Julie found her answer in a powerful, liberating moment. She told herself, Whatever happened, happened. I can't rewrite the past, but I can choose to learn from it. It wasn't about excusing anyone's actions. It was about permitting herself to forgive, not because the other person deserved it, but because she deserved peace. She found the courage to forgive herself, too, for holding on to the pain for so long. Every time regret crept in, she forced herself to focus on something good, something positive. Whether it was the simple beauty of the sky or a conversation with a friend, Julie learned to redirect her thoughts to the present and to the things that brought her joy. One day, Julie decided to take a more tangible step. She wrote down every regret, every lingering resentment, every memory that felt like a weight on her chest. She sat in her quiet room, her heart pounding, and then, with a deep breath, she tore up the paper. Tears welled in her eyes, but they were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of relief, of release. "I'm letting this go," she whispered, "so my spirit can finally be free." In that moment, she felt lighter. The weight of the past no longer held her down. For the first time in years, Julie felt the promise of a brighter, more peaceful future, one where she could embrace the present with an open heart. 11. Ignoring health issues until it's too late. Lately, Julie had been experiencing dizziness and blurry vision, but she brushed it off. "It's just a part of getting old," she told herself, convincing her mind that her body was simply following its natural course. But one morning, as she stood up, a wave of dizziness hit her like a freight train. She lost her balance and fell hard onto her hip. The pain was sharp and immediate, and the next thing she knew, she was lying in a sterile hospital bed, the sound of beeping machines filling the quiet. The doctor shook his head regretfully, his voice soft but stern. "We could have prevented this if we had caught it earlier. Why do we wait until it's too late? Why do we ignore the signs our bodies are desperately trying to send us?" The truth is, many of us don't take our health seriously until we're faced with a crisis. Minor symptoms, like dizziness or fatigue, can be early warning signs of more significant health problems. High blood pressure, heart disease, osteoporosis, these silent killers don't announce their arrival with loud alarms. They sneak up on you, one small symptom at a time. By the time you realize something is wrong, it may be too late to avoid complications. Waiting for the perfect time to go to the doctor only leads to more harm. The longer you put off getting help, the more difficult and expensive the treatment becomes. Prevention is always easier, and far less costly, than crisis management. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. How can we turn things around? Start by listening to your body, because it's trying to tell you something. When you feel a persistent pain or unexplained dizziness, don't brush it off as just aging. Get it checked out. Regular checkups are vital. They can catch issues before they spiral out of control. And don't wait for a fall or a heart attack to motivate you to live a healthier life. It's the small, everyday choices, drinking enough water, getting some exercise, eating a balanced diet, that add up over time. These small habits are what keep you healthy and strong for years to come. Julie learned the hard way. After her fall, she had a wake-up call that couldn't be ignored. Health is the greatest treasure, she thought, her heart heavy with regret. I need to take care of it while I still can. She made changes, big changes. She scheduled regular checkups, started drinking more water, and even joined a senior yoga class. For the first time in a long time, Julie felt empowered. She wasn't just taking control of her health, she was taking control of her future. And that felt like the most important decision she had ever made. 12. Forgetting how to laugh and enjoy life. Julie sat in her quiet home, the days blending in a haze of monotony. She had become a stranger to herself, a woman who once radiated laughter and joy but now barely recognized the woman in the mirror. Looking through old photographs, she saw a version of herself that was smiling, laughing, surrounded by the warmth of friends and family. She couldn't even remember the last time she had laughed like that. The weight of the world seemed to have stolen her joy. She mostly stayed at home, watching the endless loop of negative news, consumed by worry and sadness. She hadn't felt truly alive in so long. Then, one evening, something unexpected happened. Her neighbor invited her over to watch a classic comedy. At first, Julie hesitated, unsure if she had the energy to care. But something in her shifted, and she agreed. As the movie played, something miraculous happened. She found herself laughing, really laughing. It wasn't just a polite chuckle. It was the kind of laugh that shook her to the core, the kind that made tears roll down her face. It had been so long since she'd felt that kind of joy, she almost forgot what it was like. In that moment, Julie realized just how much she had been denying herself. Why is laughter so important? Why do we overlook its power? Laughter isn't just a reaction, it's a remedy. It lowers stress levels, eases tension, and strengthens connections with others. It lightens our hearts, renews our spirits, and, yes, even makes us feel younger. It's one of life's simplest pleasures, but it's also one of the most profound. In a world filled with challenges and hardships, laughter is the medicine that helps us heal. So, how do we bring laughter back into our lives? Make it a priority. Seek out joy, however you can. Watch comedies, read jokes, or even play games with friends. Tell funny stories that make your sides hurt from laughing. Surround yourself with people who uplift you. Rediscover hobbies that once brought you joy, whether that's singing, painting, or simply dancing around the kitchen like no one's watching. Life is too short to take too seriously. Julie committed herself that night. She turned off the news, replaced the negativity with cheerful music, and started to let herself laugh again. Slowly, her smile returned, and with it, a fresh energy began to radiate from her. It was like she had found a piece of herself she had long forgotten. And as her friends noticed the change in her, she realized that joy was not something she had to wait for. It was something she could choose every single day. As we wrap up today's discussion, I hope you found something valuable that resonates with your own life. Whether it's letting go of grudges, taking charge of your health, or rediscovering the joy of laughter, each of these steps is a reminder that we have the power to change the course of our lives at any moment. So, what have you learned so far? Is there one thing that stood out to you, something you feel ready to bring into practice in your own life? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please take a moment to comment below and share one lesson that you'll carry forward. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave your comment, like, share, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Your support means the world to us. Let's keep the conversation going, and together, let's create lives filled with joy, health, and peace.